Joining me today on the show. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It's a free show, and that's one way to say thank you, and I really appreciate it. If you're watching or listening on the iTunes podcast, give me a rating and review. I really appreciate it. And don't forget about the contest running until March 15th to subscribe to my newsletter at BeTheStory.net, so that way you can get a chance to join the show and get one of my favorite books. With that being said, let's get this started. I wanted to share with you one of the biggest challenges when it comes to a small account or trading small, especially if you're a short seller. Actually, only if you're a short seller, if you're interested in short selling, the challenging aspect of paying for multiple fees. A lot of people don't talk about this, and this is something that you have to think about, and I wish that I would have known about this before I got into short selling. Now, what that is a lot of you are seeing people post charts of profits, right? But they don't talk about the fees. Now, borrows are expensive. Depending on what broker you have, they can range from a penny to 10 cents. I've even seen to $1, $10 a borrow, depending on the price of the stock and how active it is. But let me tell you the challenge with borrows. Number one, if you're trading small, say 100 shares, right? And you need to make, $30, right? $30 a trade, 3-to-1, risking $10. You make $30, but you borrowed 100 shares and you spent 5 cents a share. So you pay $5 for that 100 shares. And now you can see how just that alone took a lot of your profits away, percentage wise. And then the other thing on top of that is most brokers, depending on who you're with, you're paying a fee to trade. Now, if you're a long bias player, you're not paying anything because you're lucky. But for short sellers, you still pay those fees. You pay for the borrow fees, you pay for the trade fee and the ECN fees. And those add up. And I was doing calculations, and you could do this on your own, but you can be paying anywhere between 10 to 20% of your profits just on fees, sometimes 30%, depending on how much the borrow is. It can be very expensive. So you need to make sure that you are aware of that before you jump into that game. And if you are aware of it, then it's possible. There's a lot of traders who are profitable. I mean, I have been consistently profitable even with those fees, but it does affect me mentally because you think you may be up 1,000, right, for the month or for the week or for the day, but you're really only up, half of that, or you paid a third of that in fees. So that's really what it comes down to. About a third of it goes to fees. And it can be very hard. It's like you're working out with weights, or you're trying to run up a mountain. If you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z. It's like you're running up a mountain and you're Piccolo or Goku and you're wearing that weighted gi, right? And you're just running up the mountain trying to get there as fast as possible. But that mountain is us trading to become profitable or to make that money, whatever it is. But we're trying to do it with this extra weight. And it's something to be aware of, something that you need to think about if you're thinking about becoming a short seller, because not everyone talks about it. And it can be challenging, man. It really messes with me mentally, if I'm honest, to where I think about becoming a long bias trader, but I suck at long bias trading, or normally in the past have, and I believe, maybe I can get better over time. But it's something I got to think about, and it's something you need to think about if you're thinking about getting into the short bias game. And there's a ton of short sellers now too. I mean, so when it comes to borrowing, here's the other thing. If you're going to borrow shares, it also makes you want to trade. And you may need to borrow because there's a limited pool of shares available, right? There's a limited pool of shares available. And if you see a stock that's fitting your parameters or getting close to it, right? It's almost fitting everything you need to place a trade, and you don't borrow shares, and then it finally hits all of your criteria and you look to borrow and there's none, that can really make you frustrated to where you trade something else because you're just frustrated that you couldn't trade what you wanted. And then the other side of it is, let's say you borrow because you've experienced that, and so you're like, this time, not this time, I'm going to borrow, be prepared just in case it hits my parameters. But what if it doesn't hit your parameters? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to be having more of a reason to trade. I can be honest with you guys. When you spend money on borrows, let's say you're trading 1,000 shares and you spend 3 cents a share, so you just spent $30 just to borrow, right? For some reason, I'm honest. I mean, it's not a lot, right? It doesn't sound like a lot. But for some reason, you have more reason to trade. You're going to be looking for a reason to enter the stock instead of waiting for a reason for it to tell you to enter. I deal with that all the time. And so it's something that needs to be talked about. And, with long buys, you don't have to wait. I mean, you don't have to wait for borrows. You don't have to hope there's borrows. You can wait for the opportunity. In short selling, if you borrow, you're going to be more inclined to trade. And then if you wait and be patient and don't borrow, then you miss it because you can't borrow, it's more frustrating. So it's this challenging, psychology part that you have to be prepared for. And it's taken me a long time to handle this. And if I'm honest, I'm still not 100% okay with it. In fact, that's why I'm talking about it right now. It's frustrating. And then you have the other opportunity where you borrow it and then you're disciplined and you don't trade it and then you're done, right, for the day. You didn't train it. But that could happen multiple times in a row. So you spend 30, 50, 20, 30, 40 bucks per borrow, right? And you didn't place a trade. And yes, there's that other side of the coin where you can say that's part of doing business. But there's a long bias who don't have to pay a damn thing to trade. They only pay for the loss. That's frustrating. We should probably do a petition, right? We should probably say we need free trades too. If we're going to pay for borrows, we need free trades or we need free borrows, but it's not going to happen. But anyway, if someone's brave enough to do that, do a petition, send it to me. I'll sign it for sure. And then if you do it and we start getting some momentum, I'll even post it on every social media and give you support because I would love to see what we could do. But I wanted to share that with you. Again, if you're liking this content, please like, subscribe, give me a rating and review, and I appreciate you guys so much, so much. Thank you.